Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're looking at the SPY, the IWM, the Qs, the DIA, the IYT, the USO, the UUP, and the GLD. We follow the daily, weekly, monthly time frames. We use technical analysis here at StockBookie.com. So pretty much a tight range day. We gapped down a little bit, popped up. Volume pretty much was light all the way until the end of the day. We still ended up only with 50 million with some okay candles towards the last hour of the trading session. A little bit of downside, closing almost at the low, but pretty good support here. Anything, if you want to move down, this thing's got a gap below the 200 and maybe do a gap and go, but let's keep an eye on that. If we do move lower, we do have a pretty good pivot right around the 242.74 area, but then you have a gap fill down here right around 241.44 with a gap window at 241.71. So that's on the downside. Good support here. If you go to the 60-minute, this is all intraday stuff, guys. This is what we'll be looking for. You have good support at the 50 MA, which is the 242.64, but we also have a trend line through here that this thing's been kind of following. So you have pretty good support. If you want to do a short-term fib, you could go fib from this top to that, or this low to that top. 242 is pretty good. You have the gap fill around 241. So let's see what this gives us. This is down and sideways, guys. A little bit of a bearish pattern. We're still at the highs. So this is more intraday for tomorrow. So look for some more possible selling into the maybe 243 or the 244.50 area tomorrow. And if this thing pops up, then you're looking at back at gap fill up in this area. We pretty much filled it today by a couple pennies, and then it pretty much dropped from there. So let's see. Let's go to the daily. 50 million again, guys. Light volume. So there's the fib from that low to this high. We're almost into the 382. Let's see what happens tomorrow. You can see that better on the 60-minute. It's a little bit fuzzy on this one. But ultimately, guys, if this thing consolidates sideways on the daily manner, comes into this area, look for some possible upside. That brings us, 248 to 250 easily. Maybe the 250, 250 area. We'll have to watch how this thing moves up. If it moves down, you got support here. You got support at the 20, support at the 50. Pivot, and then you got the big line right here at the pivot as well with the 50. So we'll have to just kind of wait and see, guys. We're going to wait for the pattern and see what this gives us on the spot. It's up a little bit after hours, but we'll see what happens tomorrow morning. All right, so the IWM, okay volume, a little bit more than yesterday, but nice pop up, came right in. A little bit of a follow through day today. It did close below the gap fill. So let's keep an eye. Let's see if we go down and sideways now, or do we go up and just start chopping around in a bullish manner, or do we go down sideways, still bullish but slightly bearish now with an inside bar. So we got to watch out for that. So as long as we stay above the 50 and the 22, we're okay. And this is a 200 MA. We're definitely in good shape here. If it starts to slip, then we'll have to keep an eye to see where this thing could possibly go to the downside. Upside again, it's got to get above this high pivot. Now you have a trend line up here as well, connecting the highs. So you got to look out for that one too. So pretty good resistance coming in this area, then the all-time high, and of course around 143 and then 145 area. So first things first, we got to consolidate longer for the next pop up. If we pull back and start coming in, then we'll look for some lower prices or how this thing's going to bounce or set up. So that's it. 25 million again. Volume was pretty light, so keep an eye on that as well. Qs again, guys, nothing wrong. 57 cents down. This was the one where we got some action on the 10-minute too. The last hour kind of sold. Got some pretty good volume coming in as well. So let's keep an eye on this. You still have the 200 MA. I'm still thinking, guys, a gap down and go. But we'll see. Or maybe we get a gap up and go on the upside. So let's keep an eye on this one. Right now it's a 50-50 shot coming in. But yeah, there was someone selling in here, across the board too. The Qs came in. The SPY came in. The IWM came in, so be on watch for a little more selling, or if this starts to possibly start something different here. Still above the MA, still strong, light volume, a little bit better than yesterday, but we did come in a little bit. So let's keep an eye. The big areas on here would be like the 141.63, so we'll put a trend line there. You have the gap window, this green bar up at the top here, this one's pretty big. 142.15 is a big area. We start getting below these two lines, and then this point of where it high got rejected, came through, busted through. That's a good area with the 20. If it gets below that 140 area, then beware for the Qs. So keep an eye. Volume stays light. We could possibly float. News is going to drive these markets, so whatever news is coming up, then that's what you kind of got to follow. and oil inventory or whatever tomorrow as well. So watch the USO. USO has been going up. All right, the DIA now. DIA, again, volume was okay. We did come back below the all-time highs, though, but nothing wrong. Still above the MAs, still in a bullish stance, bullish pattern. Now we're just looking for chop and then possibly up. We've been pointing out 215, 220, 225, and then the ultimate level would be the 226.50, 227, which would be this key trend line. Then we'll see what happens, guys. If it moves up, if it does not move up and starts to come in, then of course, you know, below the moving averages, pivot, pretty much like the SPY, the IWM. They all pretty much have the same setups with the pivots and stuff. And then ultimately the 200 MA down here if it comes in. But again, one step at a time. Let's see what this gives us with a pattern staying up here, or does it start to slip tomorrow? So let's keep an eye on that stuff. And one day at a time, guys. Each piece of the puzzle every day. We get a new piece, and we try to keep trading it. This one, though, guys, IYT, what a rip up. It's this area here, gap fill. We got a little pivot now up here, and that's where it seems to be stopping. Not, you know, it is chopping. Maybe we get a short retrace back here and then the next pop, but we had a little tail, a little follow-through volume with the selling because it gapped up and came right in, and we closed below the gap too as well. So let's see if we come back in to this line. That will be a key trend line. If it cracks through that, then we're possibly going towards the 200 MA. We have the 50 and the 20 on top of each other here. So let's see if that forms a bond and maybe curls up in the price if this continues sideways. So upward, 174 to 175 if this thing starts to break. Downward, 163, but you know, 158. But we'll have to see. Right now, you're kind of 50-50 waiting for pattern. If it starts pulling back, then we'll have to see where we could get a possible bounce, or if this thing starts to break down. So there's there's a lot going on right now. But what a great move, guys. This thing needs a little bit of a pullback before it goes higher. But the way these markets are working, you never know. We might just gap up over the big areas of resistance and we keep going. So just keep an eye on these. If you're long, tighten it stops. If you're looking to short, you can start shorting up here. Just make sure you got enough at 175, 174 area, just in case if you have to add more. No huge positions in these markets, guys. Slow and steady, where we just one here, one there, one here, one there. As long as we're making money, that's all that really matters. Volume again, guys, nothing. So beware of that as well. Go to the USO. USO, what a nice day. Guys, it was up 17 cents today, held the 750 retrace. We do have a net trend line down here now, so we'll connect the dots here. And we'll go to the lows. So right there, boom, held. So do we retrace up into this area here, the next wave down, or do they get it back above? Bullish, you got to get above this pivot, above this trend line. You get it above that, then you might get a breakout where it might possibly start moving up. So you got to watch that. So the other scenario is we go right up into this big area, hits the 200 moving average, and then gets rejected and comes right back in. So we're kind of doing a little bit of a zigzag pattern here. Last leg up and then maybe the next leg down. So keep an eye. We break this area, get above the highs here, then we're shooting up for this one here. If we get a little higher, up into, let me see, the $12 area, we'll be looking to short this thing right up in here, 11.50, 12 bucks. So big resistance up here around 11.50. So let's keep an eye on this one, see how high they drive this one. They cannot handle higher oil prices in America. This is all an experiment, and Janet does not need higher oil prices in the mix of things right now. So they'll keep this one lower. I'm still thinking 9 bucks and then possibly lower in the weeks to come, maybe months, but we'll have to see how it goes through the summer months. So, all right, let's go to the UP, which is the dollar. It was down a little bit on the day, but look, this bearish pattern is starting to play out. Do we get another retrace? Maybe. Let's see if we start filling some of these gaps in this area. And then ultimately, I've been saying it, 24.33 to 24. We'll reevaluate how it comes into here. And then if that area does not hold, gosh, then you're looking at, a couple 23.81. But ultimately, you got a big gap here and or a big pivot here and a big gap fill down in here. 22.86, 23, and that's only a buck more away from here. So let's take this one a day at a time, getting way ahead of myself. But so far, so good. Bearish pattern pops up, comes in. Bearish pattern, starting to break down. Do we get down here? Only time will tell. So let's wait for that. We'll wait for a pattern or possibly retrace. Again, if you're bullish, though, you need to get it back above the MAs. Get above those MAs and above this trend line. This thing could take off easily to 27 bucks, maybe a little higher. So that's what we're looking for on the bullish side. Got to get it. Right now, it's a downtrend. If it wants to reverse the trend, it's got to get back above the MAs and start going on volume. So they're shaking people out right here on the dollar who are long. So big money short actually on the dollar. So right now. So all right, let's go to the GLD, guys. We talked about the gap up, and what do we get today? The gap up. They don't want to deal with the resistance. Gap it up. Look at this. They had the gap fill, double top. They got it above, and they pretty much closed it right on top of the all-time high, which couldn't be any better if you ask me. So now we're waiting for a pattern, guys. So we came off this little bullish pattern, pop, pop. Got this one. Let's see if we go sideways for the next pop, or we get some follow through. We might actually turn around, come right back in. So right now it negated the head and shoulder pattern that we've been watching for. I mean, just a little bit. So I don't like it anymore. But if it does come back and hit this trend line, there could be a possibility of it going lower. Will it be this target? I don't know. But ultimately on the GLD, I think we're going higher. Keep an eye on this one, guys. If you are along with me, just move that stop up a little bit. We're not going to mess around. Maybe at 119 or so, goes up another buck or two. We're going to raise it to 121 and just trail this thing up and get the rid out of the last half. So we're only in half. We sold the first half right in this area. Comes back. We can sell it again right at this, same place. But I think we can get a little bit more on this, especially if the markets start pulling back. They're holding it up a little bit after hours, but no big deal. All right, guys, let's get into the Jnug. Unbelievable day, up almost 18%. This thing ripped heads off. We've been talking about this daily pattern. Slightly bullish, guys. Remember, down, sideways, talked about that being bearish, but up and sideways here, a little bit bullish. As long as we kind of held this 20 MA, I mean, we got above it a little bit. This is Jnug. On the GDX, it was a little different. This one took off today. Guys, if you're in the Jnug, it's got to get above the 50. If it does, we might be able to get to 26.99, maybe into the 30-ish area. But if you took unless we get a gap up, this might have some problems where it might pull back. If you just take a little off the table, half, it pulls back, then load up again and enjoy the ride up. But it's got to hold up, guys. It can't come right. If it comes right back in, gets below, then you got to think about these lows here and then possibly the low here. So this was a great move. Again, if you got in around 16 and this thing's at 20, that's a $4 move on this. You got in here around 14 bucks and now it's at 20 again. This guy might be like, you know what? Because I didn't sell here, I almost got my butt kicked. I think I'm going to dump here. So you got to watch out for guys like that. You get some profit takers, some prop traders that just, take the profit and run. So again, we're looking for a gap up and possible go. It has to get above these areas, gap fill. I mean, there's a bunch of gap fills here. But if we get up into the 26.94 to 30, think about just protect the trade. That's all I'm saying. Let's go into the GDXJ. This is what ultimately works with the Jnug. And boom, we're back above the 50. On this one, it's even better, guys. We got almost to the high. Let's look for a gap up. If they could gap it up over this resistance here, boom. Even up this, if they could gap this thing up a buck or so and goes right into here, just remember, this is going to be huge resistance right in this area. Take something off the table, have it pull back, add again, do it again. So GDX is fine. Let's see. So hopefully we get some follow through for all your bulls that's been holding on with me going over these charts. I get the emails, hey, Bookie, can you look at that? I'm like, yeah, no problem, guys. But yeah, I hope somebody got this one. This was great. Bullish pattern. Starting to become a little bearish right here, but still overall bullish. Overall bullish or bearish here. But this up move sideways a little bit bullish as long as it was hanging around here. Finally, it closed above and it closed above. Let's see if we get some more follow through, or we might just get a nasty reverse day. So remember, guys, if you're in this thing from the 31 and you're at 34, that's $3. It's not a bad trade. Trim some off. All right, that's it for today for StockBookie, guys. I'm John C. Thanks for coming and watching the videos. If you don't have a membership, go to the website, StockBookie.com. Sign up. It's free. You get email alerts for videos like this, trade ideas, live trading sessions. We're going to do some nightly stuff too, where we go live for an hour, hour and a half. We go through some stocks, possible trade setups. So watch for that. Become a member, guys. It's free. And StockBookie.com. Appreciate it. Again, tomorrow will be a new day. Look for volume on the SPY. If we get up to a 90, 100 million, we might see a little more selling. But you know how this market goes, guys. This thing dips a little bit. Everyone buys a dip and goes straight up. So be careful. If you're long, tighten stops. If you're trying to short, just go slow and steady, small positions across the board in all the sectors. And then hopefully some of these high flyers will pull back in the weeks to come. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching my videos. I really do appreciate it. God bless. See you on the charts.